Kia ora, level 3. We're doing the Queenstown Winter Festival and we're up to question 2A. Question 2A is all about the process, the planning process. So I would like you to put the geographic concept word process in your assignment at least 3 or 4 times. So to start off with, I'm just going to talk you through how to answer 2A. We'll do 2B next week. So it's all about the sequence of actions that shape and change the environment. So there's going to be a number of steps that you need to talk through. I've put the question in this sheet. This sheet you can copy and paste it into your assignment. So it says how to answer, lay it out like this, a sequence of actions. So basically you're going to tell me the sequence right from a year before the festival starts right up to what happens during the festival and then what happens in the couple of days and weeks after the festival. So for an event to be successful, planning and decision making has to be undertaken. And planning and decision making is done through the Queenstown Lakes District Council. They are the ones who you have to plan with to get consent to even run an event. So the first thing you need to do right out well before the event is to plan dates for the next festival. So I've and pretty much you guys are kind of making this up a wee bit. So I'm guessing about 11 months out before the Queenstown Winter Festival, the people who run it will be setting the dates. Now, the most important document for you to read for specific examples is this PDF called the 2019 Queenstown Lakes District Council Event Toolkit Planning. And that PDF is going to be uploaded to Classroom and Workspace. So it looks like this. All right, and it talks about what you need to check off to be able to run an event. It's the Queenstown Lake District Council that organises all of the events that happen there. Now, before you start, you actually need to contact the District Council and you need to talk with one of these people, Jan Maxwell or Marie Daly. I want you to name Jan Maxwell or Marie Daly or both of them because they are the people, the specific people that you need to get in touch with at that planning stage right back 11 months beforehand. So this is where you find your specific examples. Here we go down here. Where is the event going to be located? And it talks you through, is it going to be on private land? Is it going to be on public land? What are your expected numbers? Now, we know that the opening night of the Queenstown Winter Festival has more than 500 people walking down the streets and they have fireworks. So definitely you're going to be having to fill in a resource consent. All right, so it talks through how to book a venue, getting permits, and here's the links. Here are the key contacts. All right, so permits and licenses. Here it says you need to get permits and licenses for things like alcohol, fire, which means fireworks, and anything that you might be doing at the Queenstown Winter Festival. You have to draw up a site plan, so when they're having that opening ceremony, they'd have to draw up a site plan of that and cover those things that are listed there. You'd have to have a map. You'd have to go over health and safety. Food safety, that would be for like anyone who has a coffee cart to sell anything. Now, Queenstown Lakes District Council is a zero waste event place. You have to create absolutely no waste and plan for that. So to do that, you can look at those forms there. The zero waste event form, and that'll sort you out there. Signage obviously has to do with traffic. And this is the resource consent process. So it talks you through here. It says here, if you have got more than 500 people inside a building or 200 people outside. Obviously, the Queenstown Winter Festival will have lots of events with 200 people or more outside. So yes, Queenstown Winter Festival has to have a resource consent. So you have to identify the numbers of people you expect, the traffic and transport plan, emergency plan, security plan, recycling plan, toilet plan. I don't know if they'll need to have a water supply plan, because most things where they're running stuff will have a water supply. Sale of alcohol plan. There could be places where you can buy alcohol at the opening festival, but I'm thinking that probably they don't sell alcohol at the opening. Probably people just walk through the centre of town and go to all the pubs and bars, because the object of it is to not compete with the pubs and bars that are there locally, but to actually add people into those pubs and bars. And also the Cadrona Ski Resort, they are licensed already. So I don't think that the Queenstown Winter Festival will have to get a sale of alcohol supply resource consent, because all the places they hold events already hold their own alcohol license. Building consent. This is really interesting. It says here that you need to have a building consent if you build a temporary structure like a stage or a marquee larger than 30 square metres. So there might be a stage at some of these gigs. You'll need to check whether, and I'm guessing they'll need building consent. So this is the most important resource that you should read through and use as specific information when answering question 2A. So let's come back to question 2A again. So basically you just talk through that Queenstown Lakes District Council event guideline for 11 months out, 6 months, and I've listed a lot of those things there, like zero waste, health and safety. I would imagine you'd do your planning, setting the dates and get the initial resource consent then, and then you would go into the details all through here. You do need to look at the sponsorship again and do a wee bit of research to find out about real journeys. Coming down to the next stage in the process would be about 4 months out. So you kind of write it like that. You'd say, you'd probably book the portaloos around 4 months out. You would also try and hook in the locals. Who wants to have a coffee cart at this Queenstown Winter Festival? Which locals would like to provide a food caravan? And you'd probably hook the people in there. Between 3 and 1 month before the festival, you'd probably order the stage equipment and order your fireworks. I'm not sure where that would come from, but I'm imagining China, so there might have to be an order put into China. In the week before the Queenstown Winter Festival, what do you think will be happening? What will Jan and Marie be doing? So go back to talking about what they're probably hiring staff, firming up who's going to be their security, and that type of thing in the week before. The next part of the planning stage is, and I'd like you to do separate paragraph for this part, or paragraph all of this, but make sure this is separate. So that we've got before, everything I've talked to so far is about before the festival takes place. Now we look at what will be planned and how will people organise the Queenstown Winter Festival during the 4 days of the festival. So you'll be organising closing roads, managing traffic, organising the performers. The organisers will be troubleshooting problems. They'll be looking at security, managing bad behaviour, usually linked with things like alcohol. They'll be managing injuries if people have crashes on the snow events. Police, ambulance, first aid, all of that thing would be involved there. All right, so that could be pretty fast happening in those 4 days. The next stage, which you'll write as a separate paragraph, is the planning process after the event. Immediately after the event, I remember last year, which is the one you're talking about, Queenstown Winter Festival organisers put out a survey on Facebook to ask for feedback from the people who went. So they wanted people who'd been to tell them what was good and what were the problems. And of course, in that after stage, that links back to the before. So getting back to basically in the after, you'll be starting planning the date for the next year again. All right, so the next part of the question is the planning and decision-making people involved. You write this a bit separately. There were many people involved in organising the Queenstown Winter Festival. This includes the individuals. So you need to name Jan and Marie, all right? Who was part of the planning process? Obviously the community. So I'm not sure if you do write too much up about the community there. Who would be the officials? Obviously you'd have the police, emergency services, and maybe security. Then it talks about what permissions, consents, and permits are required. You may feel like you're repeating yourself in this part, but please make sure you go over resource consent, zero waste event planning. Remember to go over the building consent for the outdoor stage and the permits and licenses for fireworks. We've already talked around the alcohol. I don't think we'll need an alcohol license. All right. Now, as you're doing this, answering this, you need to use geographic terminology. That will basically come like people will travel north to the Cadrona ski field resort to do the on-mountain events that will need resource consent. The geographic concept I want you to talk about over and over again is the word process, because this is the planning and decision-making process. A range of detailed, relevant evidence with specific examples. You need to get those things from this event checklist, which is a PDF. So look for a PDF document. This is where you're going to get a lot of your specific information from. All right, go back to that document again that we were reading through. Lastly, it says include diagrams, graphs, tables, and other appropriate visual media. You could do a picture of some of the events. All right, to get excellence, you actually need to include diagrams, graphs, tables, and other appropriate visual material. All right, make it look good. You could simplify something here. You could include a map. You could look at some data of the numbers of people who've arrived over past years. But if you're looking for excellence, you really need to do this last bit here. Don't ignore that last line. That's the end of task 2A. I'm not going to go over task 2B. This is well long enough for you to listen to. Right, ka kite, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.